Bill Sweeney is the individual with Melissa that we work with Bridge House. So you'll get to meet him more in depth next week.
Hi, Bill. Nice to meet you.
Jessica. It's a pleasure to meet you also. And Melissa sends her regrets. She has a family matter. Her husband was injured, and it's something that's got her in the ER right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Morning, everybody.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Give everybody another minute or two here to gather.
Good morning, friend, and welcome to I'm taking Thomas Liberty, and today's Thursday, grabbing my trunks of I have a poem for you this morning by Beiter-Fluhr, 1920 American poet titled Hope is the King's Gift.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I think we've got a good collection of folks. We probably can get rolling. If you haven't been here before, welcome. We are the Tri-City Homeless Policy Group, and I know we have a few extra guests today. So welcome to our group. We're fortunate today to have, first off, an introduction of our new homelessness services coordinator for the Tri-Cities area. That's going to be Jessica Dianni-Cox. Hopefully I said that right, Jessica.
You did.
Do you want to introduce yourself, or I don't know if Lizzie wanted to share a little bit about your background?
Miss Cox has joined us here as of June 17th with the county. She came from Rocky Mountain Human Services. She has had many caps in the past with Aurora Housing Authority, Innovative Housing Concept. I know she's also worked with South Metro Housing Authority. Jessica, do you want to fill us a little more in on your experience in education?
Sure. So I came from Rocky Mountain Human Services as a clinical care manager. However, most of my career has been in housing. I worked at Mercy Housing with single families in transitional housing and helping them secure permanent housing. And from there, I worked at Innovative Housing Concepts for 4 years, where I started their resident services program. That was funded through the Ross grant through HUD, and also led their digital equity efforts. And from there, I worked at Aurora Housing Authority, where I finalized their opportunity and self-sufficiency program, and launched that before I took a job at Rocky Mountain Human Services, where I'm coming from. And it wasn't very long there before I realized that my passion is really working in community social work, and specifically poverty alleviation and housing. So I'm really excited to be here and continue the really great work that Mike started.
Awesome. Welcome. We're so glad to have you here. I know it's probably overwhelming at this point what you have to, learn about all the communities and get settled in, but we're here for you. So just, all the people on this call are good resources in the community. So I hope you'll reach out, and, we can always put you in touch with the right people.
Thank you so much.
All right. Our first presentation today is from Elizabeth Watts, and she's going to share with us some about Littleton's Riverwalk transitional housing. Thanks for joining us from your vacation, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you. I will not take up too much of your time this morning, mostly because your time is valuable, and also because I have a very busy day of traveling ahead. But Krista, if you're able to share, that would be fantastic. Otherwise, I downloaded it and should be able to.
My Teams is freezing. I just hopped on my phone. My Teams is freezing on my computer. So
No worries.
Oh wait, here we go. Let me give it a shot.
That would be awesome. Thank you. Oh, amazing. You're great. All right. So thank you all for the opportunity to talk about this. My name is Elizabeth Watts. I am currently a management fellow with the city of Littleton. And so I have the fortune of working on some of our internal homelessness efforts and working with all of our departments and our teams. And we had a resident who had reached out to Mike, actually, from our Riverwalk community, which is largely a sort of retirement community, and really just wanted to talk about what was happening for homelessness. I think they had noticed a lot more folks either on the streets or at corners, and were sort of not aware of what the cities were doing, even though we know that we've done a lot of work. And so it was a really wonderful opportunity to sort of just chat, and there are some takeaways that I'll talk about at the end. But Krista, if you don't mind going to the next slide. So we got together a really wonderful panel, hopefully many of which are on this call, of service providers in the community, as well as our contacts at the county, Arapahoe County. So we had Cameron from Arapahoe County, Julie from Graceful Foundation was there, and she brought a really wonderful person with lived experience with her. We also had Tammy from Graceful, and then Mike Gent from the city of Littleton. And the purpose of having these panel members was just to provide some context on what the cities, the county, and as well as stakeholders were doing. So we really just started from ground zero, right? So talking about the plan and how far we are, and then answered some pointed and rough questions about homelessness and that experience. And what I really I think we can take from this is that, one, this was a phenomenal opportunity. The community hosted us. We were in their space, and we had a really wonderful turnout. But Krista, if you don't mind going to the next slide. What I think we can remember from this is that, like, we can still communicate the work. So that's one of the things that as we're continuing and moving, there are still folks in our community who maybe don't even know what we're doing. And we know that we've done a lot of work, and they, once they heard about all this work, are really excited about it, and really thankful that the work is being done and that people are focusing, and that the city specifically are focusing on this work. The other takeaway is really that there's a good opportunity to streamline giving. And I know that that is one of I think that there is $10,000 allocated in the action plan to streamline giving. And I know that Mike had talked about doing that potentially somehow through the website. I know that Jessica will probably come up with some wonderful ideas, but I do think that this came up in the community a lot. And just, how do folks support when they want to support? What are the right avenues for that? And so just something to sort of be thinking about. And then the last is that there are potentially more opportunities for these types of conversations. And so as we chart forward, just, if each of the cities are doing some of these, or whatever the case may be, I think that there are some really good opportunities to sort of get back in the community and have more of these sort of small focus group conversations. And there's a lot of fruitful information to come out of them. But largely just that, like, this was a really wonderful opportunity. And I'm very glad that the community had reached out to do it, and that we were able to get some really fantastic folks together to chat about something that is really difficult and that we're all sort of noticing and dealing with. And we know that, right? So I'm happy to answer any questions.
So can you talk a little bit just about what some of their biggest concerns were, or what you were able to help them understand better?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the, I think that there was a lot of concerns about safety, right? So how safe is somebody if they see somebody who seems to be struggling, right? And we were able to have some very just like direct conversations, right? About, if you see somebody and then they're not harming you, like, that's fine. Like, let's leave them be. If you see somebody taking a nap in a park, let them nap in the park. And then obviously that if you feel threatened, that is the time that you can reach out for, you can call 911. We also provided them, like, the Littleton non-emergency line, because they were in our jurisdiction. And so just sort of having that more frank conversation about when is a situation threatening to you. And also that, like, the sort of realities of somebody, if somebody is not committing a crime, there's not many things we can do, but then connecting them to resources, right? So one of the other questions was whether or not they should give somebody money on the street corner. And I know that that's something that's come up in this group to talk about whether or not, there is signage that we are interested in, or whatever the case may be. But and we actually had, I don't know if Julie Hall is on the call and wants to chat about it, but it was actually a great conversation where our panelists with lived experience essentially said that's up to you, right? That's a hard place to be in, but that, if you feel comfortable doing that, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, like, there's no responsibility or requirement to do that, right? Or there's also other ways to connect them to resources. So
yeah, I think that what stuck out to me about her comment during that question was that a lot of people are just trying to get one night off the streets, and she said sometimes that money was the only time she could get a break. And I think people do need to know that it's not always going to something nefarious.
Right. Well, I think that's a great point, Julie, and thank you for reminding me. I think one of the best conversations we had was just about the experience of being homeless, right? About not having a place to sleep, about how tiring that is, about how many steps you're taking in a day, which are far beyond what we're taking in a day just to reach our 10,000, right? Like there are folks who are exhausted, and then the sort of physiological effects of being exhausted, right? So I think that conversation was really, really fruitful and really helpful for people to sort of just like put themselves in those shoes for a moment and realize how exhausting and how much work it is to try to figure out your safety for the night, right? So I think that was the most eye-opening.
Great.
And really well like received.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, that's, I agree with you. And we had a small gathering. We didn't do any photos or anything, but a small gathering in Sheridan last year with one of our mobile home parks. And I felt the same way from that experience, that it really was safety that was the top concern. And once you kind of put some like personality behind that, like what are those folks going through? And what is the real danger, if there ever is any, when should you call the police? Then they seem to really understand and respond well to that. So I agree with you that maybe more of those small gatherings would be useful in the community. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Does anybody have any questions for Elizabeth or comments? Jim, go ahead. We don't hear you yet. I can see you talking. I can't hear you. Can you all, anybody else hear Jim, or is it just me?
Oops, sorry, I can't.
Well, wait, 1 minute. I can see that it thinks you're talking because your box is lighting up, but there's nothing coming out. I don't know. You mind if we switch to Julie? We'll go to Julie and come back to you, Jim, if you can keep trying. Go ahead, Julie. Oh, wait, there it is. I heard now. You said something. Try again. No. I heard like there's like a little audio, but then it just goes away. So I don't know what's up.
Sorry.
Oh, then I heard sorry. I don't know.
You can hear sorry.
Yeah, now I hear you.
Now?
Yep.
Okay, well, thanks for your patience there. I know Elizabeth, I'm not sure to the extent to which news has been shared, but I just want to take a moment with this whole group to recognize Elizabeth's contributions. She's taken an exciting new job, and she's been in her management fellow role with the city of Littleton for about 1.5 years now, and that's intended to be kind of a growth opportunity and chance to learn and springboard into the next phase of her career. And I just want to really thank her on behalf of Littleton and on behalf of the group for all of her contributions. She has stepped up, I think, in ways that we've been very impressed with, to take a lead role for Littleton on this group, and I've been able to be very confident in our ability to move things forward with Elizabeth's leadership. So I just want to thank you, from me and from our group, and just say, best wishes and thank you for all your work on behalf of this group. Your work on the Bridge House Ready to Work project, joint meetings, all of the ongoing work that we've had is really thanks to your efforts. So thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Elizabeth. Really appreciate you. You have been a really great member of the team, so you'll be missed. But congratulations on your new opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, Julie.
Well, congratulations, Elizabeth, and I certainly have enjoyed working with you. It's been a pleasure. So wishing you the best. Yeah, I just wanted to share with the group that Graceful Foundation loves these opportunities. We have a lived experience action team that we've created this year for this purpose. People that are in a new, more healthy season of life and able to really speak from their own challenges. And I just can't say how powerful that is whenever we get them in front of community and they're able to share their stories and help them on the way. So if you do have other opportunities where people are open to conversation, we are very glad to step into those spaces.
Great. Thank you, Julie. That's great to know. Okay. Well, next on our agenda, we had an update on Bridge House. I don't see Melissa, but do we have somebody else representing Bridge House on?
Yes, good morning. I'm Bill Sweeney. Melissa sends her regrets. She had an urgent family matter that just came up.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course. It's my pleasure. I have a presentation that I'll share.
Okay.
And let's see if I can get this to let's see. And there we go. Is that coming up yet?
Yes, it's not in presentation mode yet, but we can see it.
You can see it.
Yes, we can
okay.
see all your, the little view with the slides down the
That's
side.
fine.
And,
Those Dick. I'm not ashamed of the fact that they're all
okay.
there. They help me to navigate. So quickly, we'll go over our funding status, where we are in the renovation project, the overall project status, and the current schedule. So our 5 construction funding awards are all committed and signed. The administrative processes are running longer than planned, but that's never a surprise. Our expenses to date are around $850,000 on the construction out of about 6.3 million estimated. So about 12% along. And we expect billings in the $250,000 range this month. We have been working on the usual renovation surprises. We found a load-bearing wall where a girder was expected. So that changed our course a little bit. We had a long, complicated process with our water and sewer taps. That is coming to an end, and we should be in the ground working on that next week. Excel has lived up to its reputation, and we are continuing to work with them. It goes slowly. And CenturyLink, we are continuing to work with. It goes slowly. The overall project status, demolition is 95% complete. There's one small area that we cannot complete until we get the new steel installed. The site work is moving slowly. The pacing issue is the various utilities, but the principal log jam is broken and we will be moving forward. All of our long lead materials are either on hand or in transit. Our interior construction has begun. The trenching for plumbing and conduits is complete. The conduits are laid. We've begun repouring the floor. The steel install arrives today. So that should go in either tomorrow or Monday. The exterior construction, the trenching is being scheduled in the next week. And we have taken the first 50 formal changes, bundled them into a set of project revisions. The permit review is complete. So we're keeping up on all the paperwork. The overall project schedule, we are still officially looking at an end of year opening, but we are calculating a new schedule. We will have that near the end of the month. It will probably be a little bit later, but we're not sure what. So we're just kind of saying, we expect something to change, but we don't think it'll be drastic. That's pretty much it. So that's our status quickly. I'll be glad to go back and do details any place.
Great. And so at what point, Bill, do they start trying to hire staff? Like, is that part of the new schedule or?
That'll be part of the new schedule. We want to put staff out between 2 and 3 months before we open the doors.
Okay.
So we can start. We can get the people who will be working there on on the ground, meeting the people that we will be talking to. So we want that to dovetail. If we spend too long promising that we'll be here soon, that's not going to work well. And if we arrive too close to the opening, we'll start more slowly, and we don't want that. We want to start off as fast as we can.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, I appreciate that update. Anybody else have questions for Bill on how Bridge House is going? No?
Nope.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. It was nice to meet you.
My pleasure altogether. Thank you.
All right. So the last thing we have on our agenda for today is, in light of the extreme temperatures that we're seeing today and the rest of this weekend, we've had some questions come in about cooling centers in our region. So I know we have some partners on. I don't know everybody's who everybody is, but I know we have some partners on from the library districts and from recreation to kind of share with us like what their policies are on having folks come there to get some relief from the heat or in the winter from the cold. So I don't know if anyone wants to raise their hand and go first and just kind of share with us what those policies are like. We wanted to get an idea like what everyone's policies are. Are they real similar? Can we feel comfortable as your community partners, sharing that information if we find people who are in need of somewhere to go? So I don't know if anyone wants to start out. I see Linda there. It looks like maybe a library lanyard on. I don't know if you're here representing Arapahoe Libraries, but
my lanyard gave me away.
Yes.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Linda Spees. I'm Director of Operations for Arapahoe Libraries, and we have a few folks here today. And so I can speak a little bit to where we are right now, and then we have some questions kind of about moving forward with something more official in terms of being designated kind of cooling or heating center. But I'm happy to speak to the fact that, we have, in the Tri-City area, we have 4 library locations, but we have 6 physical library locations in the Arapahoe County area. And so, all of our library locations obviously open to anybody, anytime that we are open. So we're definitely locations where people can come and get out of the elements and just, spend time in our libraries. We do have, some of you might be aware, we have 3 community resource specialists as well. On staff. So they are available to help people who need and want resources. So that is something that we offer. But in terms of, I don't think we have ever been sort of designated officially as a
like a cooling center. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we had some questions about what that would look like, but under just our current operating, we welcome anybody in our libraries, and we have some resources to offer as well.
Great. Anybody else on? Sorry, I don't know all the players who were invited. Anyone else who was invited to talk on this topic? Do we have anybody from South Suburban on? I know we're reaching out to them. Go ahead, Madeline.
Hi, yeah.
Hi.
I'm the senior park ranger here at South Suburban Parks and Recreation. Over in my department particularly, I don't necessarily have a cooling center option. Our rec centers are open to the public, but you do have to pay an entrance fee to get in if you are not already a member or part of the district. During these heat waves, our ranger team does go around with bottled water, and so we offer water, we offer electrolyte packets to unhoused individuals in the parks. We offer to try to arrange rides to places like a shelter or a library or somewhere they can go that does have air conditioning. So we try to facilitate that for them. It just kind of depends on the individual if they are open to that or not. But you know, in any extreme temperatures, whether it's the extreme cold in the winter, the extreme heat in the summer, we spend a good portion of our time out just trying to essentially do welfare checks on the unhoused individuals to make sure that, you know, they're safe and that the effects of the temperature aren't putting them into a dangerous situation. And, you know, in certain circumstances, we'll get medical out to check on them if we suspect there's something like hypothermia or heat sickness going on with them. So we really try and keep an eye on the unhoused community during these times.
That's great. I think, you know, Gretchen, go ahead.
Yeah, when you get medical out there, are you just calling whatever is the local dispatch, or do you have something special that you use for medical help?
So if we suspect that it's a true medical emergency, as in hypothermia or, you know, heat stroke or anything like that, we're going to call the local dispatch. And the majority of our area falls within South Metro Fires district, and we have a pretty good working relationship with them. And so they're the ones that come out and they'll assess the patient. If it's somebody that just seems like the heat or the cold is kind of bothering them, we might try getting like the MRU to come out and see if we could get them taken, you know, to a library or a shelter or something like that first. But if we're worried about it being like a potentially life-threatening thing, we're just going to get EMS out there.
Great. Well, that's good to hear that you're keeping an eye on folks. And I know Sean Lewis was kind of coordinating this, but he is out today. So I'm leading the discussion in his place, but I believe he had gotten a response from someone at South Suburban saying, you know, they're open to that discussion of, you know, whether their rec centers would be an appropriate resource for us or not. But if we don't have anybody else on today, then I guess that discussion will have to wait for another time. But I do want to say I appreciate Arapahoe Libraries and your being here and, you know, sharing, you know, your willingness to help people get out of the heat. And I think, you know, the other thing we had that Sean had pulled that I don't think I had even seen before was the Arapahoe County Homelessness Resources Guide. And that did have some information on places where people can go during severe weather. Go ahead, Jim, you got a question?
Thanks. Just to complement Linda's points that she made, I'll just mention that the City of Littleton Library has a similar approach. You know, in times of extreme temperature, our doors are open and we welcome folks in for some respite, and we do try to connect them with resources as they need. But at this time, it's not a designated kind of policy across our city, and I think as our consciousness of this issue, you know, raises, we should be thinking of that. So we'll be looking into that further.
Yeah, I think that's part of the question we wanted to discuss today is like, what is the openness to making that a more official designation and something that is okay for us to, you know, share, like I said, with partner organizations and with the public, even to say this is, you know, a resource in our community for people who are experiencing this difficulty. And I don't know, Linda, or if somebody on your team can speak to, I don't want to put you on the spot either, but can speak to, you know, what your thoughts are on, you know, us kind of more publicly saying that information. I guess if, you know, if someone comes to us and says, what are the places people can get cool, saying yes, Arapahoe Libraries is one of those places, you know.
Yeah, so I have George Sproul here with us. He's our facilities manager, and we also have our safety supervisor on this call. So I know they had some specific questions. So it sounds like this might be a good time to ask some of those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is George. I'm George, and we have some questions because at this present time, you know, libraries have opening and closing times. And like Linda said, you know, they're people are welcome to come in, and you know, we do have a patron code of conduct, and as long as they follow those guidelines, we're good. And welcome them in and let them cool off all day long. See, so some of the questions that I had would be, are you looking for this designation for the Tri-Cities only? So Linda had mentioned we have 4 libraries in the Tri-Cities, and we have 2 outside of the Tri-Cities. So you would be looking for this designation for those libraries, probably.
Well, I mean, I would think we would, if we can do it countywide, that would be even better. And then, you know, they could publicize that in that brochure, which I don't know if you got a chance to look at, that one that's published by the county that shows various resources. You know, I think, you know, we have a similar resource on our Tri-County Homeless Policy Group website, and that would be another place we might want to share that information. But I would expect, not sure who, we have Lizzie on from the county, I think, right? You know, it seems like something they might also like to have available as a resource. But
Kathy is on from the county, and yes,
oh, Kathy.
we would definitely like to have that as a resource for the whole county, most definitely.
Yeah, and then so I just have a few more points and questions. And one was in our situation, you know, what would be the consideration for, you know, library operating hours and, you know, closures due to various reasons? Sometimes, you know, the AC, you know, maybe isn't functioning, or there's, you know, various reasons for the library to close. We don't take that lightly. We don't close them easily, but when we do, you know, we can't have people in the facility at that particular time, especially if the equipment isn't working. So that would have to be one of the considerations. And then also the operating hours. See what one of the things that the safety supervisor, Kip, and I discussed was, you know, when the library closes at, let's say, 9 o'clock at night, and it's, you know, freezing cold outside, you know, we're closing and kind of don't feel so great about sending these people back out into the cold. It would be, in my opinion, you know, nice to be able to send them to a center where, you know, they can be there around the clock if needed, you know, during a cold snap or, you know, conditions like that. So that's just one of the things that's going through our minds, and you know, compassion for that particular situation. And then one of the other item I wanted to find out is, I'll get to that in a second. You know, would we be able to do like a trial, you know, and what would be expectations of a trial? Like try one library maybe on a trial basis and just see how things work out, which, you know, then we'd want to know, you know, what the trial would look like, and then, you know, the expectations. And then also, would there be a contact or individuals that we could contact to talk about this, and, you know, how they manage those types of situations, and, you know, what their challenges are, and how they resolve those challenges. So that's kind of what we're, you know, I am kind of getting into the weeds, but, you know, when you take something serious, you get into the weeds, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I appreciate all your questions. I think they're really good questions and obviously necessary. Catherine, go ahead. Do you have response to some of George's questions, or do you have more questions?
No, I think George brings up some really good points, and I wonder if it wouldn't benefit us to have kind of a separate side meeting and, you know, have all the players kind of at the table to talk about what that would look like, and if we wanted to do some sort of pilot. And, you know, George, I think that resource guide's a great start, but there's definitely other resources we have in cold weather. You know, the hot weather's a little different for the overnight stays, but I think being able to have those connections for, you know, a pilot site or all the sites, whatever that looks like, to be able to get people somewhere overnight in those cold times is something we could look at doing.
Okay, so somehow I'd like to exchange information with you, Catherine, and yeah, maybe we can go from there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think, yeah, as you've pointed out, Catherine, I mean, this meeting is not usually in the weeds so much. We're, as our name implies, we're a policy group, so we're kind of bringing people together. But I think it would be wonderful to, you know, have that off kind kind of side meeting and get into those details. And I think we could maybe, I don't know, maybe survey the group to see who all wants to be involved in that and who would have input on what some of those other resources are. I know, Julie, not to put you on the spot, but you're a good one for, what other resources are available in our area. So maybe Krista, if you could send out a question to the group about who wants to be involved in that sub-team, and we can get a meeting going on that. That sound like a good plan, everybody?
Yeah, and I believe because this meeting invite went out, you have all of our email addresses.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking for Krista. She's got all that.
Yeah, I'll send an email out right after this meeting.
Great.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your openness, and I'm sure, with this information, we can at least know, for this weekend, if we have, one-off needs, to be able to refer people to the library is a great resource. So thank you for that. And then it's like Julie is willing to join in that conversation, so that's great, and talk with the Change the Trend group as well. Does anybody else have? Oh, Tim, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to quickly say, I think we have another partner on. It's Christina Underhill, who's our Parks Rec Library and Golf Director in Inglewood. Okay. And then also we have Emily Van Hake from our police department. And if it's okay, I was wondering if she could talk a little bit about how we communicate these challenges.
Yeah, that's great. Go ahead, Emily.
Morning, everybody. Yeah, like Tim was saying, most of you know me, but I'm Emily Van Hake. I'm a mental health clinician with the Inglewood Police Department. And I have gotten in the habit since January of this year of just sending out regular communications. It's something we've done for years, but trying to do it in a more coordinated way, of communicating on a regular basis when we have extreme hot and cold weather events about what shelter options are available, how to access shelter. It's more so geared towards our officers for when they encounter somebody in the elements, what phone numbers they can call, what after hours numbers are available to them for, in the winter, things like severe weather shelter. So it does look different in cold weather times, and we do have kind of a different system, but I'm happy to be a part of any side conversations, because a lot of times it's our team members that end up being the face of that information along with community service providers themselves. But when we're alongside patrol or when MRU is responding to calls, we're doing a lot of that education about where can you go and how can we get you there safely. So.
Great. Thanks, Emily. All right. Do you else have any thoughts or input on that topic before we leave it for a subcommittee? No? Okay. Well, I appreciate you all attending today and sharing your thoughts on it. Anything we can do to strengthen those partnerships, and I'm sure we'll talk about how we can support you in that response. And then we don't have anything else on our agenda, but I'll be willing to, open it up if anybody has updates on things going on in their organizations or other community news you want to share. Go ahead, Jim. I lost your audio again. It's like you're muted.
I am failing on the AV stuff.
Everybody has those days.
I just want to share with the group. It's I would call this kind of homelessness adjacent, and in the homelessness prevention category. But the city's pleased we've been able to, in partnership with Arapahoe County and Thistle Community Housing, help one of our mobile home park communities, Meadowwood, in purchasing their property. This community approached the city several months ago about help in any form. And it took a lot of kind of thinking and I think real just coordination with the county and with Thistle and with others in thinking about how we could, because as I'm sure all of our communities. We're not in a position to help purchase the property, to help purchase homes in our community for folks that are in danger of losing their homes due to rapidly increasing rents. But we did find a way that we could really help them buy time to kind of figure out, work with all the rest of the partners, grant partners to put together their kind of capital stack or their capital program that would help them to make rents affordable in the end. So the news was announced this week that they're under contract. I don't know, there's still a lot of due diligence work to be done, and I know that there's still more work to be done on that financing, but it was some good news, and it's also really pointed Littleton toward the need of accelerating a homelessness prevention policy and strategy. We really don't have that now, and we've been kind of ramping up these programs over the last few years, but that needs to be one component of our overall housing and homelessness policy plan, and we were glad that we could help make something happen there for our community.
That's good to hear, because I'd heard about some other communities in the state, but not a ton of examples of that going successfully. So that's nice to hear you were able to help them achieve that.
Crossing our fingers. There is still a lot of work that has to happen, but we're just excited for them that they're under contract and that they can move forward and hopefully get to closing.
Great. Okay. Anybody else want to share anything? How about topics for future meetings? Anything you want to share? We don't usually hit up the group for that, but if you have any ideas, people you want to hear from, or things you want to share. No? Okay, people just want to get on with their day today, and that's fine. I do want to point out there's some good info in the chat. Elizabeth Plumas did share the, I guess a new draft version of the homelessness resource book from Arapahoe County. And again, I really appreciate everyone who attended today. If any of you who are attending, kind of on request today, if you want to be added to this committee and come visit with us every month, we'd, be glad to have you do that. So it's another thing you can mention to Krista if you respond to her about the sub-team, or you can let her know you want to be on the invite. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next month. Bye.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.